You're recording me again. My name is Richie. I'm 42. Been running Bright Path Logistics in Memphis, Tennessee for 8 years. Built it from nothing after my dad passed and left me his old delivery truck. That truck became 5 trucks, then 15, then a whole fleet serving the Mid-South. Stephanie had been acting strange for months. Little things. Her phone always face down during dinner. Conversations that stopped when I walked into rooms. The way she'd position herself during our arguments like she was performing for an invisible audience. "I'm not recording anything," she said, but her hand moved toward her purse. Always that purse. Never more than 3 feet away from her lately. We'd been married 7 years. Met when she was working at a law office downtown. Bright and ambitious. Said she wanted to be more than just a paralegal someday. I supported that dream. Paid for her to go back to school part-time. Helped her study for the LSAT twice. Now she spent her days browsing real estate websites and talking to lawyers. Said she was exploring options for her career. But real estate agents don't usually ask about business valuations and asset protection strategies. "Why don't we go out for dinner tonight?" I suggested that Italian place you used to love. "Used to," she repeated like she was testing how the word sounded. "Everything's used to with you, isn't it, Richie? Used to be happy. Used to have plans. Used to care about what I wanted." The conversation felt scripted, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this exact exchange in front of a mirror. I walked to my home office and pulled up the security system dashboard on my computer. 6 months ago, after a break-in at the warehouse, I'd upgraded our whole security setup. House, business, everything connected to one system. Motion sensors, cameras, audio recording in common areas. The insurance company gave us a decent discount for it. The system showed everything was functioning normally, all cameras active, all audio feeds clear. I'd installed it myself, running cables through the attic over 3 weekends. Stephanie had complained about the cost, said it was overkill for our quiet neighborhood, but watching the real-time feeds now, I noticed something. The living room camera showed Stephanie moving around downstairs, and every few minutes she'd glance directly at where she thought the camera was mounted. Only problem was, she was looking at the wrong spot. The actual camera was hidden behind a decorative plant angled to capture the entire room without being obvious. She was definitely recording something, and apparently, she thought I was too stupid to figure it out. I'd always been the steady one. After Dad's heart attack, Mom needed someone to handle his affairs while she grieved. The trucking business was barely breaking even, but it was all we had. I worked 16-hour days for 2 years, learning routes, building relationships, fighting to keep contracts that bigger companies wanted to steal. Stephanie was proud of me then, bragged to her friends about her entrepreneur husband, posted pictures of our new trucks on social media with captions about building dreams together. We talked about kids, maybe buying some land outside the city where we could raise them, right? Those conversations stopped around the time the business really took off. Success changed something between us. Not the money itself, but what it represented. Stephanie started mentioning other couples who did things differently, wives who got more involved in business decisions, wives who had their names on everything. "Why isn't my name on the business accounts?" she asked one night about 3 months ago. "Because you're not on the business license," I explained. "Dad left everything to me. The lawyer said it was cleaner this way, for tax purposes, so I'm just your wife, not your partner. You are my partner in everything that matters." But that answer wasn't enough anymore. She started asking about life insurance policies, retirement accounts, the value of our house, said she wanted to understand our financial picture better. Made sense at the time. Couples should talk about money. Then came the lawyer consultations she called informational meetings, the way she'd disappear for hours on Saturdays claiming she was shopping or visiting her sister. Her sister Kelly called one evening looking for her, said they hadn't talked in weeks. The arguments got more frequent, usually about small things that escalated into bigger things. I'd suggest we take a vacation. She'd accuse me of trying to control her schedule. I'd ask about her day. She'd say I was interrogating her. Every disagreement felt like it was being documented somehow, but the strangest part was how she'd sometimes repeat herself. Same phrases, same emotions, like she was giving multiple takes of the same performance. I'd respond differently each time, trying to understand what she wanted to hear, but nothing seemed to satisfy her. Kelly mentioned at a family barbecue that Stephanie had been asking about my relationship with my dad, specifically about how he treated my mom during arguments. My dad never raised his voice to anyone, barely spoke above a whisper his whole life. But Stephanie seemed interested in painting a different picture. "Your family has anger issues," she told me after we got home that night. "Based on what?" "I can see it in you sometimes. The way you clench your jaw when you're frustrated." I touched my jaw. Hadn't realized I was doing it. The truth hit me on a Tuesday morning in September. I was reviewing the security footage from the previous weekend, checking timestamps for an insurance claim on a damaged delivery truck. Standard procedure, just documenting when each vehicle left the yard. But I clicked on the wrong folder. Instead of the warehouse cameras, I opened the house files. 3 months of archived recordings, automatically saved and organized by date. I was about to close it when I saw Stephanie's name in the file directory. She'd been reviewing the footage, downloading specific segments, creating her own copies. My chest got tight. I scrolled through the access logs, seeing her username logged in at strange hours, 2 o'clock in the morning while I was asleep. Mid-afternoon when I was at work, she'd been systematically going through weeks of recordings, selecting specific conversations and arguments. I opened one of the files she'd downloaded. It was from a fight we'd had about her spending. In the original recording, you could hear the full context. I'd come home to find she'd bought a $1,500 purse without mentioning it. I asked if we could discuss big purchases beforehand, especially since we were reinvesting most of the business profits back into equipment. The conversation started calmly. I explained my concerns about cash flow. She got defensive, accused me of treating her like a child. Things escalated from there. By the end, we were both frustrated and saying things we shouldn't have, but the file she'd saved only captured the last part. My voice raised in frustration, saying she was being irresponsible with our money. Her crying, asking why I was being so cruel. None of the context that led to that moment. None of her initial aggression or accusations. She was editing our fights, cutting the parts where she pushed, twisted, provoked, leaving only the moments where I looked like the aggressor, a husband snapping at his wife while she sat crying, vulnerable. It was evidence, not for therapy, not for us, but for someone else to see. A court, a lawyer, a judge. She was building a case against me piece by piece. My hands shook on the mouse. I clicked through more files. Same pattern. Every argument trimmed down to a highlight reel of me losing my patience, my voice raised, my words stripped of context. One file was even renamed Proof 2. Another, Richie angry again. I pushed back from the desk, heart pounding. 7 years of marriage, and she was setting me up like some corporate rival I'd outmaneuvered on the road to growth. Except this wasn't business. This was my life, my marriage, my freedom. That night, I sat across from her at the dinner table. She barely looked up from her plate, scrolling on her phone with that same purse sitting right next to her chair. I wanted to scream to confront her right then, but something stopped me. If she was playing this game, I needed to know the rules. I needed to see the whole plan before I made a move. So, I stayed quiet. I let her think I was blind. I let her record, let her play her role. And meanwhile, I dug deeper. 2 weeks later, I found the folder she didn't know I could access, an external drive synced through the cloud. It was titled Case Notes. Inside were recordings, documents, even draft statements. Things like, Richie has a temper. He gets controlling when I ask about finances. I fear for my safety sometimes. Safety. The word hit me like a hammer. She wasn't just going after money, she was painting me as an abuser. I knew then what she was doing. Divorce wasn't the end game. It was divorce with cause. Alimony. The business. Maybe even criminal charges if she played the victim card hard enough. And she was a paralegal. She knew exactly how to build the perfect narrative. But what she didn't know was that I still had the originals. Every uncut recording. Every moment of her manipulation, her calculated digs, her staged tears. She thought she was directing a movie, but I was holding the raw footage. And if this and to court, I was going to flip the script. The day came faster than I expected. A courier showed up at the office with papers. Stephanie had filed for divorce. Grounds, emotional abuse, and financial control. The words looked foreign on the page, like they'd been pulled from someone else's life. But no, it was mine. My name in bold at the top, my business listed in the financial disclosures she wanted divided. I showed up to the courthouse in the same suit I wore when I signed my first fleet contract. It felt symbolic somehow, like I was defending not just myself, but every mile, every sleepless night I'd spent keeping Bright Path alive. Stephanie walked in with her lawyer at her side, head high, face composed in that delicate mixture of sorrow and strength. She was playing her part perfectly. Her attorney started strong, played clips of me raising my voice, Stephanie crying softly in the background. Each one carefully edited, each one designed to make me look like a man on the edge. I watched the judge's expression tighten, saw the gallery shift uncomfortably. My throat was dry, my palms damp, but I forced myself to stay calm. When it was my turn, my lawyer glanced at me. "You ready?" I nodded. "Play it." The screen lit up again, but this time it was my copy. The uncut version. The fight about the purse, the lead-up, the context, her sharp words, her accusations, her rehearsed tears. The room changed instantly. The same people who had looked at me like a monster now leaned forward, whispering to each other. Clip after clip, the pattern became undeniable. Stephanie baiting me, repeating lines, exaggerating, cutting me off, then melting into rehearsed breakdowns once she noticed the camera. Her lawyer objected, said the recordings were irrelevant. The judge overruled, said the court had a right to see the full context. By the third uncut clip, Stephanie's mask cracked. She shifted in her seat, eyes darting, jaw tightening. By the fifth, she was whispering frantically to her lawyer. By the seventh, she finally exploded. Those weren't supposed to be. She caught herself too late. The courtroom went dead silent.